in Krishna. Everyone. So, Lord Narasimha Dev is a very special position, especially in ISKCON. We have every day Narasimharti. There's so many avatars, but Prabhupada especially chose Lord Narasimha Deva to be worshipped, and his glories are sung every day, practically in ISKCON, in all the ISKCON temples. So the reason is that Narasimha Dev is actually a protector, and we all seek protection in our bhakti because our interest is to awaken our devotional service for the Lord and serve Him eternally. So Narasimha Dev is a protector. He is known for protecting the devotees of the Lord. So I will discuss from the 7th canto. We will discuss this. There are wonderful prayers after the Narasimha kills the Lord, kills the demon. So I read the summary. Actually, I can read the summary of this entire thing. You'll be very happy to know the summary. See, I'll read from here. What you say? So one summary, one devotee can read. Okay. So let us start with Arya Prabhu. You have to read summary, Prabhu. So that way we'll get the whole pastime. What is happening? Arya Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. As described in this chapter, after annihilation of Hiranyaksha's sons and brother Hiranyakashipu were very much aggrieved. Hiranyakashipu reacted very sinfully by trying to diminish the religious activities of the people in general. However, instructed his nephews about a history to diminish their aggrievement. You go on, Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead. Read the whole thing.
When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as the boar and killed Hiranyakashipu's brother Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu was very much aggrieved. In anger, he accused the Supreme Personality of Godhead of being partial to his devotees and derided the Lord's appearance as Raghava to kill his brother. He began to agitate all the demons and Rakshasas and disturb the ritualistic ceremonies of the peaceful sages and other inhabitants of earth. For want of performance of yajna, sacrifice, the demigods began wandering unseen on earth. After finishing the ritualistic funeral ceremonies of his brother, Hiranyakashipu began speaking to his nephews, quoting from the Shastras about the truth of life. To pacify them, he spoke as follows. My dear nephews, for heroes to die before the enemy is glorious. According to their different fruitive activities, living entities come together within this material world and are again separated by the laws of nature. You should always know, however, that the spirit soul, which is different from the body, is eternal, unadjustable, pure, all-pervading, and aware of everything. When bound by the material energy, the soul takes birth in higher or lower species of life, according to the varying association. In this way, it receives various types of bodies in which to suffer or enjoy. One's affliction by the conditions of material existence is the cause of happiness and distress. There are no other causes, and one should not be aggrieved upon seeing the superficial actions of karma.
Who is speaking this philosophy? Arya Prabhu, you know this?
Hiranyakashipu.
See how much he is having knowledge. He has knowledge, but still is a demon. So just having knowledge doesn't make us, great. Correct? We should be able to apply them also. And to become a devotee, we should be able to become devotee. You remember you were quoting me from Bhagavad Gita, Arya Prabhu.
Yes, I remember.
Tell me that line again.
Those who are in knowledge but don't like. Hey, I can pull it up. I can pull it up on the
lowest of.
A man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he's known to be the lowest of mankind.
Ah. See? He's saying this. A
from it's
man
in
may,
16.23.
yeah, correct. A man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he's to be known as the lowest of the mankind. See, so he knows theoretically Hiranyakashipu, but he is not applying in his life. Correct, no? Mm. So this is a very important thing because there's so many people may know so many things. And as devotees, we may know a lot of things, but if you're not trying to apply them in our lives, then we're still not, living as per the proper standard. Yes, go ahead further. 1 minute, where we were. No. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, read further. Finish this last paragraph.
Hiranyakashipu then related a historical incident concerning King Suyadna, who resided in the country named Sinara. When the king was killed, his queens resided over the country, overwhelmed with grief, received instructions which Hiranyakashipu quoted to his nephews. Hiranyakashipu related an account of a Kulinga bird pierced by the arrow of hunter while lamenting for his wife, who has who, who had been shot by the same hunter. But by narrating these stories, Hiranyakashipu pacified his nephews and other relatives and relieved them of lamentation. Thus, having been pacified, Diti and Vrishabhanu, Hiranyakashipu's mother and sister-in-law, engaged their minds in spiritual understanding.
See, he's able to engage the mind in spiritual understand. So this is how he was able to preach. So he was a good preacher, but not the follower. Go ahead further. Now next he will read our words is there. Virat, could you like to read?
Ji, Hare Krishna.
Class to become immortal. Yeah. Go ahead further. You can read fast, huh?
The trans
This chapter.
okay. This chapter describes how Hiranyakashipu performed a severe type of austerity for material benefit, thus causing great distress throughout the universe. Even Lord Brahma, the chief personality within this universe, became somewhat disturbed and personally went to see why Hiranyakashipu was engaged in such a severe austerity. Hiranyakashipu wanted to become immortal. He wanted not to be conquered by anyone, not to be attacked by old age and disease, and not to be harassed by any opponent. Thus, he wanted to become the absolute ruler of the entire universe. With this desire, he entered the valley of Mandara mountain and began practicing severe type of austerity and meditation. Seeing Hiranyakashipu engaged in this austerity, the demigods returned to their respective homes. But while Hiranyakashipu was thus engaged, a kind of fire began blazing from his head, disturbing the entire universe and the inhabitants, including the birds, beasts, and demigods. When all the higher and lower planets became too hot to live on, the demigods became being disturbed, left their abodes in the higher planets, and went to see Lord Brahma, praying to him that he curtail the unnecessary heat. The demigods disclosed to Lord Brahma Hiranyakashipu's ambition to become immortal, overcoming his short duration of life, and to be the master of all the planetary systems, even Dhruvaloka. Upon hearing about the purpose of Hiranyakashipu's austere meditation, Lord Brahma accompanied the great sage Brigu and great personalities like Daksha went to see Hiranyakashipu. He then sprinkled water from his kamandalu, a type of water pot, upon Hiranyakashipu's head. Hiranyakashipu, the king of the Daityas, bowed down before Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe, offering respectful obediences again and again and offering prayers. When Lord Brahma agreed to give him benedictions, he prayed not to be killed by any living entities, not to be killed in any place, covered or uncovered, not to die in daytime or at night, not to be killed by any weapon, on land or in air, and not to be killed by any human being, animal, demigod, or any other living entity, living or non living. He further prayed for supremacy over the entire universe and requested the 8 yogic perfections, such as Anima and Lagima.
So he went with the great sage Bribu and Daksha, and he went. This is yeah, read this. Kiran Mataji, like to read, or Poonam Mataji, like to read, one of you.
Hare Krishna Guruji, I can read.
Okay, you have to read fast, but no, little fast.
This chapter fully describes how Hiranyakashipu obtained power from Lord Brahma and misused it by harassing all the living entities within this universe. By severe austerity, Hiranyakashipu satisfied Lord Brahma and obtained the benediction he desired. After he received these benedictions, his body, which had been almost entirely consumed, was revived with full beauty and a luster like gold. Nevertheless, he continued to be envious of Lord Vishnu, unable to forget Lord Vishnu's having killed his brother. Hiranyakashipu conquered everyone in the 10 directions and the 3 words. Scrolling is just can't concentrate on.
Sorry.
Here it is.
You're becoming, yeah.
Unable to forget Lord Vishnu's having killed his brother, Hiranyakashipu conquered everyone in the 10 directions and 3 worlds and brought all living entities, both demigods and asuras, under his control, becoming the master of all places, including the residents of India, whom he had driven out. He began enjoying life in great luxury and thus became mad. All the demigods but Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva came under his control and began serving him. But despite all his material power, he was dissatisfied because he was always puffed up, proud of transgressing the Vedic regulations. All the Brahmanas were dissatisfied with him and they cursed him with determination. Eventually, all the living entities within the universe, represented by the demigods and sages, prayed to the Supreme Lord for relief from Hiranyakashipu's rule. Lord Vishnu informed the demigods that
Sorry. Yeah.
that they and other living entities would be saved from the fearful condition created by Hiranyakashipu. Since Hiranyakashipu was the oppressor of all the demigods, the followers of the Vedas, the cows, the Brahmanas, and the religious entity persons, and since he was envious of the Supreme Lord, he would naturally be killed very soon. Hiranyakashipu's last exploit would be to moment his own son Prahlada, who was a Bhagavata, an exalted Vaishnava. Then his life would end. When the demigods were thus reassured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everyone was satisfied, knowing that the miseries inflicted upon them by Hiranyakashipu would come to an end. Finally, Narada Muni described the characteristics of Prahlad Maharaj, the son of Hiranyakashipu, and described how his father envied his own qualified son. In this way, the chapter ends.
Yes. Now read the next chapter. Arya Prabhu. Kiran Mataji, you like to read?
Yeah, I can read.
Go ahead.
Prabhu.
You read fast, huh?
Yeah, sure. Prahlad Maharaj did not carry out the orders of his teachers. He was always engaged in worshipping Lord Vishnu, as described in this chapter. Hiranyakashipu tried to kill Prahlad Maharaj even by having a snake bite him and by putting him under the feet of elephants. Yet he was unsuccessful. Hiranyakashipu's spiritual master Shukracharya had 2 sons named Sanda and Amarka, to whom Prahlad Maharaj was entrusted for education. Although the teachers tried to educate the boy Prahlada in politics, economics, and other material activities, he did not care for their instructions. Instead, he continued to be pure devotee. Prahlad Maharaj never liked the idea of discriminating between one's friends and enemies. Because he was spiritually inclined, he was equal towards everyone. Once upon a time, Hiranyakashipu inquired from his son, what what the best thing was that he had learned from his teachers. Prahlad Maharaja replied that a man engrossed in the material consciousness of duality, thinking, "This is mine and that belongs to my enemy," should give up his householder life and go to the forest to worship the Supreme Lord. When Hiranyakashipu heard from his son about devotional service, he decided that this small boy had been polluted by some friends in school. आप बहुत आगे चले गए प्रभु.
नहीं, करेक्ट, सही है, ज्यादा नहीं है, देखिए यही तो है, यही इसी पैराग्राफ से पढ़ना. हिरण्यकशिपु read from here only.
One second.
यही है ना, this paragraph only.
Thus, he advised the teachers to take care of the boy so that he would not become a Krishna conscious devotee. However, when the teachers inquired from Prahlad Maharaja why he was going against their teachings, Prahlad Maharaja taught the teachers that the mentality of ownership is false and that he was therefore trying to become an unalloyed devotee of Lord Vishnu. The teachers, being very angry at this answer, chastised and threatened the boy with many fearful conditions. They taught him to the best of their ability and then brought him before his father. Hiranyakashipu affectionately took his son Prahlada on his lap and then inquired from him what the best thing was that he had learned from his teachers. As usual, Prahlada Maharaj began praising the 9 processes of devotional service, such as Sravanam and Kirtanam. Thus, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, being extremely angry, chastised the teachers Sanda and Amarka for having wrongly trained Prahlad Maharaj. The so-called teachers informed the king that Prahlad Maharaj was automatically a devotee and did not listen to their instructions. When they proved themselves innocent, Hiranyakashipu inquired from Prahlada where he had learned Vishnu Bhakti. Prahlad Maharaj replied, "Those who are attached to family life do not develop Krishna consciousness either personally or collectively. Instead, they suffer repeated birth and death in the material world and continue simply chewing the chewed." Prahlada explained that the duty of every man is to take shelter of the pure devotee and thus become eligible to understand Krishna consciousness. Engaged at this answer, Hiranyakashipu threw Prahlad Maharaj from his lap. Since Prahlad was so treacherous that he had become a devotee of Vishnu, who had killed his uncle Hiranyakashipu,
Hiranyakashipu.
Hiranyakashipu asked his assistants to kill him. The assistants of Hiranyakashipu attacked Prahlad with sharp weapons, threw him under the feet of elephants, subjected him to hellish conditions.
Okay, his uncle Hiranyaksha, not Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha it is.
Okay, yeah.
Hellish. Prahlad was so treacherous that he had become a devotee of Vishnu, who had killed his uncle Hiranyaksha.
Hiranyakashipu asked his assistants to kill him. The assistants of Hiranyakashipu struck Prahlada with sharp weapons, threw him under the feet of elephants, subjected him to hellish conditions, threw him from the peak of mountains, and tried to kill him in thousands of other ways, but they were unsuccessful. Hiranyakashipu therefore became increasingly afraid of his son Prahlada Maharaja and arrested him. The sons of Hiranyakashipu, spiritual master Sukracharya, began teaching Prahlada in their own way, but Prahlada Maharaj did not accept their instructions. While the teachers were absent from the classroom, Prahlada Maharaj began to preach Krishna consciousness in the school, and by his instructions, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, became devotees like him.
Amazing, right? Powerful preaching is it? Yeah. Go ahead with this. Who will read now? Virat Prabhu? No, Arya Prabhu, no? No, Arya Prabhu, yeah, you have to read Arya Prabhu.
This chapter describes Prahlad Maharaj's instructions to his class friends. In speaking to his friends, who were all sons of demons, Prahlad Maharaj stressed that every living entity, especially in human society, must be interested in spiritual realization from the very beginning of life. When human beings are children, they should be taught that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the worshipable deity for everyone. One should not be very much interested in material enjoyment. Instead, one should be satisfied with whatever material profits are easily obtained. And because the duration of one's life is very short, one should utilize every moment for spiritual advancement. One may wrongly think in the beginning of our lives, let us enjoy material facilities. In old age, we may become Krishna conscious. Such materialistic thoughts are always useless because in old age one cannot be trained in the spiritual way of life. Therefore, from the very beginning of life, one should engage in devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. This is the duty of all living entities. Material education is infected by three modes of material nature, but spiritual education, for which there is a great need in human society, is transcendental. Prahlad Maharaj disclosed the secret of how he had received instructions from Narada Muni. By accepting the lotus feet of Prahlad Maharaj, who is in the Parampara succession, one will be able to understand the mode of spiritual life. In accepting this mode of activity, there is no need for material qualifications. After Prahlad Maharaj's class friends had listened to Prahlad Maharaj, they inquired how he had become so learned and advanced. In this way, the chapter ends.
How he had become so learned and advanced in this way, chapter. So the next chapter. Yes, Virat, go ahead fast.
What Prahlad learnt in the womb. In this chapter, to dissipate the doubts of his class friends, the sons of the demons, Prahlad Maharaj states how, within the womb of his mother, he had heard from the mouth of Narada Muni, who had instructed him on the Bhagavata Dharma. When Hiranyakashipu left his kingdom and went to Mount Mandara,
Your voice is breaking,
to execute his when Hiranyakashipu left his kingdom and went to the mountain known as Mandara Chala to execute severe austerities, all the demons scattered. Hiranyakashipu's wife, Kayadu, was pregnant at the time, and the demigods, mistakenly thinking that she's carrying another demon in her womb, arrested her. Their plan was that as soon as the child took birth, they would kill him. While they were taking Kayadu to the heavenly planets, they met Narad Muni, who stopped them from taking her away and took her to his ashrama until Hiranyakashipu's return. In Narad Muni's ashrama, Kayadu prayed for the protection of the baby in her womb, and Narada Muni reassured her and gave her. Could you scroll up, please? And gave her instructions on spiritual knowledge. Taking advantage of those instructions, Prahlad Maharaj, although a small baby in the womb, listened very carefully. The spiritual soul is always apart from the material body. There is no change in the spiritual form of the living entity. Any person above the bodily conception of life is pure and can receive transcendental knowledge. This transcendental knowledge is devotional service, and Prahlad Maharaj, while living in the womb of his mother, received instructions on devotional service from Narad Muni. Any person engaged in the service of the Lord through the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master is immediately liberated and being free from the clutches of Maya. He is relieved of all ignorance and material desires. The duty of everyone is to take shelter of the Supreme Lord and thus become free from all material desires. Regardless of the material condition in which one is situated, one can achieve this perfection. Devotional service is not dependent on the material activities of austerity, penance, mystic yoga, or piety. Even without such assets, one can achieve a devotional service through the mercy of a pure devotee.
So under the knowledge, in whom only he received the knowledge. Yes, that means no material thing can check the progress, spiritual progress. Any person engages service of the Lord through the spiritual master is immediately liberated. That's important. Then you free from the clutches of Maya. From all another material. The duty of everyone is to take the shelter of Supreme Lord and become free from material desires. So everybody wants to increase material desires. Actually, our purpose should be to get rid of the material desires. That's what Prahlad prayed at the end also. Regardless of material condition in which one is situated, one can achieve the perfection. So another important thing. Devotional service is not dependent on the material activities of austerity, penance, mystery, or piety. Even though such as one can achieve devotional service through the mercy of a purity. The hearing of purity, one can achieve. So now next chapter. Lord Narasimha kills the king of the demon. This is today's Lord Narasimha is appearing. This is a chapter where Narasimha appears. Go ahead. I think Punama can read now.
Hare Krishna. As described in this chapter, Hiranyakashipu was ready to kill his own son Prahlad Maharaj. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in front of the demons as Sri Nakeshwar,
Nirkeshari.
Narkeshari, half lion and half man, and killed him. Following the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj, all the sons of demons become attached to Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this attachment became pronounced, their teachers, Sanda and Amarka, were very much afraid that the boys would become more and more devoted to the Lord.
In a
In
helpless
a helpless condition, they approach Hiranyakashipu and describe in detail the effect of Prahlad preachings. After hearing of this, Hiranyakashipu decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was so angry that Prahlad Maharaj fell down at his feet and said many things just to pacify him. But he was unsuccessful in satisfying his demonic father. Hiranyakashipu, as a typical demon, began to advertise himself as being greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Prahlad Maharaj challenged him, saying that Hiranyakashipu was not God, and began to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declaring that the Lord is all-pervading, that everything is under him, and that no one is equal to or greater than him. Thus he requested his father to be submissive to omnipotent Supreme Lord. The more Prahlad Maharaj glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the more angry and agitated the demon became. Hiranyakashipu asked this Vaishnava son whether his God exists within the column of the palace, and Prahlad Maharaj immediately accepted that since the Lord is present everywhere, he was also present within the column. When Hiranyakashipu heard this philosophy from his young son, he derided the boy's statement as just the talk of a child and forcefully struck the pillar with his fist. As soon as Hiranyakashipu struck the column, there issued forth a tumultuous sound. At first, Hiranyakashipu, tumultuous sound.
Tumultuous sound. Okay, go ahead. No problem.
At first, Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, could not see anything but the pillar. But to sustain it, substantiate
Substantiate another statement, yeah.
Prahlada's statement, the Lord came out of the pillar in his wonderful incarnation as Naramsimha, half lion and half man. Hiranyakashipu could immediately understand that the extraordinary, wonderful form of the Lord was surely meant for his death, and thus he prepared to fight with the form of half lion and half man. The Lord performed his pastime by fighting with demons for some time, and in the evening, on the border between day and night, the Lord captured the demon, threw him on his lap, and killed him by piercing his abdomen with his nails. The Lord not only killed Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, but also killed many of his followers. When there was no one else to fight, the Lord, roaring with anger, sat down on Hiranyakashipu's throne. The entire universe was thus relieved of the rule of Hiranyakashipu, and everyone was jubilant in transcendental bliss. Then all the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, approached the Lord. These includes the great sanity persons, the Pitas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, the Nagas, the Manus, the Prajapatis, the Gandharvas, and Karanas, the Yakshas, the Kimpurusas, the Vetalikas, the Kinnaras, and also many other varieties of being in human form. All of them stood not far from Supreme Personality of Godhead and began offering their prayers to the Lord, whose spiritual effulgence was brilliant as he sat on the throne.
Yes, Kiran Mata, you like to read?
Please. As related in this chapter, Prahlada Maharaj followed the orders of Lord Brahma, pacified the Lord when the Lord was extremely angry after having killed Hiranyakashipu. After Hiranyakashipu was killed, the Lord continued to be very angry, and the demigods headed by Lord Brahma could not pacify him. Even Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the constant companion of Narayana, could not dare come before Lord Narsimdeva. Then Lord Brahma asked Prahlad Maharaj to go forward and pacify the Lord's anger. Prahlad Maharaj, being confident of the affection of his master, Lord Narasimha Deva, was not afraid at all. He was gravely appeared before the Lord's lotus feet and offered him respectful obeisances. Lord Narasimha Deva, being very much affectionate toward Prahlad Maharaj, put his hand on Prahlad's head, and because of being personally touched by the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj immediately achieved Brahma Jana, spiritual knowledge. Thus he offered his prayers to the Lord in full spiritual knowledge. Thus he offered his prayers at the Lord's full spiritual knowledge after full devotional ecstasy. The instruction given by Prahlad Maharaj in the form of his prayers are as follows. Prahlad said,
Very nice, no? Please hear attentively. Very powerful. Yeah.
I am not proud of being able to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I simply take shelter of the mercy of the Lord, for without devotion one cannot appease him. One cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by what is that word? Dint of high parentage or great opulence, learning austerity, penance, or mystic power. Indeed, these are never pleasing the Supreme Lord, for nothing can please him but pure devotional service. Even if a non-devotee is a Brahmana qualified with the 12 Brahmanical symptoms, he cannot be very dear to the Lord. Whereas if a person born in a family of dog eaters is a devotee, the Lord can accept his prayers. The Lord does not need anyone's prayers, but if a devotee offers his prayers to the Lord, the devotee benefits greatly. Ignorant persons born in low families, therefore, can sincerely offer heartfelt prayers to the Lord, and the Lord will accept them. As soon as one offers his prayers to the Lord, he is immediately situated on the Brahman platform. Lord Narasimha Deva appeared for the benefit of all human society, not only for Prahlad's personal benefit. The fierce form of Lord Narasimha Dev may appear most awful. ऊपर कर दीजिए. To non-devotee, but to the devotees, the Lord is always as affectionate as he is in other forms. Conditioned life in the material world is actually extremely fearful. Indeed, a devotee is not afraid of anything else. Fear of material existence is due to false ego. Therefore, the ultimate goal of life for every living entity is to attain the position of being servant of the Lord. The miserable condition of the living entities in the material world can be remedied only by the mercy of the Lord. Although there are so-called material protectors like Lord Brahma and other demigods, or even one's own father, they are unable to do anything if one is neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one who has fully taken shelter of the Lord's lotus feet can be saved from the onslaught of material nature. Therefore, every living entity should be unattracted by material so-called happiness, and should take shelter of the Lord by all means. That is the mission of human life. To be attracted by a sense gratification is simply foolish. Whether one is a devotee of the Lord or is a non-devotee does not depend on birth in a high or low family. Even Lord Brahma and the goddess of fortune cannot achieve the full favor of the Lord, whereas a devotee can very easily attain such devotional service. The Lord's mercy is bestowed equally. Lord, I lost it. 1 second. The Lord's mercy is bestowed equally upon everyone, regardless of whether one is high or low. Because Prahlad Maharaja was blessed by Narada Muni, Prahlad became a great devotee. The Lord always saves the devotee from impersonalists and voidists. The Lord is present in everyone's heart as a super soul to give the living being protection and all benefits. Thus, the Lord acts sometimes as the killer and sometimes as the protector. One should not accuse the Lord for any discrepancies. It is His plan that we see varieties of life within this material world. All of them are ultimately His mercy. Although the entire cosmic manifestation is non different, the material world is nonetheless different from the spiritual world. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord one can understand how the wonderful material nature acts. For example, although Lord Brahma appeared from the lotus seed that had grown from the abdomen of Garbhodaksha Sai Vishnu, he could not understand what to do after his appearance. He was attacked by two demons, Madhu and Kaitava, who took away Vedic knowledge, but the Lord killed them and lost it, Prabhu.
No, yeah, I'm just putting page down. You have to go up immediately. Then you will find it. You go up, you will find it. You have to just go up. As soon as the at ends now, I just put page down.
Yeah.
You have to go up.
Thus, the Lord appears in every millennium in the societies of demigods, human beings, animals, saints, and aquatics. All such incarnations are meant to protect the devotees and kill the demons. But this killing and protecting does not reflect any sense of partiality on the part of the Supreme Lord. The conditioned soul is always attracted by the external energy. Therefore, he is subjected to lust and greed and he suffers under the conditions of material nature. The Lord's causeless mercy toward his devotee is the only mean by which to get out of material existence. Anyone engaged in glorifying the Lord's activities is always unafraid of this material world, whereas one who cannot glorify the Lord in that way is subjected to all lamentations. Those interested in silently worshipping the Lord in solitary places may be eligible for liberation themselves, but a pure devotee is always aggrieved to see others suffering. Therefore, not caring for his own liberation, he always engages in preaching by glorifying the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj therefore had tried to deliver his class friends by preaching penances, learning the Vedic literature, undergoing ritualistic ceremonies, living in a solitary place and performing japa and transcendental meditation are approved means of liberation. They are meant for non-devotees or for cheaters who want to live at the expense of others. A pure devotee, however, being free from all such deceptive activities, is able to see the Lord face to face. The atomic theory of composition of the cosmic manifestation is not factual. The Lord is the cause of everything, and therefore, He is the cause of this creation. One should therefore always engage in devotional service by offering respectful obeisances to the Lord, offering prayers, working for the Lord, worshipping the Lord in the temple, always remembering the Lord, and always hearing about His transcendental activities. Without these kinds of activities, one cannot.
Attend devotional service.
Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj offered his prayers to the Supreme Lord, begging his mercy at every step. Lord Naramsimha Deva was pacified by Prahlad Maharaj's prayers and wanted to give him benedictions by which Prahlada could procure all kinds of material facilities. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was not misled by material facilities. Rather, he wanted to remain always a servant of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Now the last chapter. Finish it with this.
The great.
No, Virat who is great.
Okay.
Virat, we can read.
Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees. This chapter describes how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narasimha disappeared after pleasing Prahlad Maharaj. It also describes the benediction given by Lord Shiva. Lord Narasimha wanted to bestow
I don't know why your
benedictions
voice
on
breaks,
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prabhu. We are having poor network.
Oh, it breaks?
Yeah, in between
Yeah.
it breaks. Go ahead. No, now it is okay.
Lord Narasimha wanted to bestow benedictions upon Prahlad Maharaj, one after another. But Prahlad Maharaj, thinking them impediments on the path of spiritual progress, did not accept any of them. Instead, he fully surrendered at the Lord's lotus feet. He said, if anyone engaged in the devotional service of the Lord for personal sense gratification, he cannot be called a pure devotee or even a devotee. He may be called only a merchant engaged in the business of give and take. Similarly, a master who wants to please his servant after taking service from him is not a real master. Prahlad Maharaj, therefore, did not ask anything from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, he said that if the Lord wanted to give him a benediction, he wanted the Lord to assure him that he would never be induced to take any benedictions for the sake of material desires. Exchanges of devotional service for lusty desires are always very prominent. As soon as lusty desires awaken, one's senses, mind, life, soul, religious principles, patience, intelligence, shyness, beauty, strength, memory, and truthfulness are all vanquished. One can render unalloyed devotional service only when there are no material desires in one's mind. The Supreme Personality of Godhead was greatly pleased with Prahlad Maharaj for his unalloyed devotion, yet the Lord provided him with one material benediction, that he would be perfectly happy in this world and live his next life in Vaikuntha. The Lord gave him the benediction that he would be the king of this material world until the end of the Manvantara millennium, and that although in this material world he would have the facility to hear the glories of the Lord and depend fully on the Lord, performing service to him in uncontaminated bhakti yoga. The Lord advised Prahlad to perform sacrifices through bhakti yoga, for this is the duty of a king. Prahlad Maharaj accepted whatever the Lord had offered him, and he prayed for the Lord to deliver his father. In response to his prayer, the Lord assured him that in the family of such a pure devotee as he, not only the devotee's father, but his forefathers for 21 generations are liberated. The Lord also asked Prahlad to perform the ritualistic ceremonies appropriate after his father's death. Then Lord Brahma, who is also present, offered many prayers to the Lord, expressing his obligation for the Lord for having offered benedictions to Prahlad Maharaj. The Lord advised Lord Brahma not to offer benedictions to Asuras, as he had to Hiranyakashipu, for such benedictions indulged them. Then Lord Narasimhadev disappeared. On that day, Prahlad Maharaj was installed on the throne of the world by Lord Brahma and Shukracharya. And thus, Narad Muni described the character of Prahlad Maharaj for Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he further described the killing of Ravana by Lord Ramachandra and the killing of Shishupala and Dandavakara in the Dwapara Yuga. Shishupal, of course, had merged into the existence of the Lord and thus achieved Sayuja Mukti. Narada Muni praised Yudhishthira Maharaj because the Supreme Lord Krishna was the greatest well-wisher and friend of the Pandavas and almost always stayed in their house. Thus, the fortune of the Pandavas was greater than that of Prahlad Maharaj. Later, Narada Muni described how the demon Nava constructed for the demons, who became very powerful and defeated the demigods. Because of this defeat, Lord Rudra, Shiva, dismantled Tripura. Thus, he became famous as Tirupati.
No, Tripurari.
Tripurari. I'm so sorry, bro. And thus he became, and thus he became famous as Tripurari. For this, Rudra is very much appreciated and worshipped by the demigods. This narration occurs at the end of this chapter.
Yes. So we completed this. Great. So you have got so many blessings, because you read the whole episode of Ram Maharaj from Bhagavatam on this day of Chaturdashi. So all praise to all of you. And now you can You can read in the day. Tomorrow again you can read. Okay. Not tomorrow, today. Today again you can. And you can specifically read Brahmara's prayers. They are very powerful. Okay, so let's pause here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.